Hello everyone, Andrew Tenjum here, recording for Team Cardhoarder on Cardhoarder.com, and we are here for the fifth and final round of our 5-match standard competitive league. This hand has lands and spells, and it has all our colors, so we are going to keep. I'm going to lead with a Lumbering Falls here, because this one's always going to come into play tapped. Granted, so is Evolving Wilds, but Evolving Wilds has some more upside with Tireless Tracker, so I'd rather play the one that always comes into play tapped first. Here I'm going to deploy our Dustwatch Recruiter. There's a lot of upside if it ends up flipping, which it very well might with turn 1 island from our opponent. But it looks like our opponent is on some types of spirit strategy, actually. So unfortunately we drew kind of awkwardly. Go ahead and play this Lumbering Falls tapped and pass the turn. The mana coming to play tapped was definitely an issue. Okay, and our opponent does nothing on their turn, which makes sense actually. And since our opponent is holding up Spellcaller mana, I don't want to just jam this Tireless Tracker into it, so I'm going to keep on playing conservatively and do nothing. Alright, finally drew a forest to make this fortified village come to play untapped, so we do have some options now. I think I'm going to start off by attacking him. Then I'm going to play Tireless Tracker. It was kind of awkward the way we sentenced this, admittedly. Like I said, it's been a long day. There's your Tides command. I'm going to clearly take that with Spell Queller. And our Werewolf will flash back, but I think the key to beating the Spirits deck is getting ahead on board, and that essentially happened. Interesting that he chooses to attack me when I have a Spell Queller that can block. I'm going to go ahead and block the Selfless Spirit. Alright, so he has Archangel Avacyn. And unfortunately there's nothing we can do about that. So we just have to let it flip and everything dies. And even worse, he gets back his Selfless Spirit. Avacyn is just a really devastating card against Bant Company a lot of times, which is I really like playing 2 in my main deck myself, because sometimes it just wins the game essentially on its own, like it did in this game. So I'm going to go ahead and bounce his Avacyn so we don't die, but we're probably still dead. I'll block his Selfless Spirit with mine. He'll probably play Avacyn. Company kind of keeps us in the game, but still unlikely. Especially just because he has 6 power coming at us when we're only at 9 life. So, for the heck of it, I will cast Collected Company in response. Okay, so we hit a spell caller. But if I block the Selfless Spirit, his Absent just flips again and blows up our board. Don't think there's really anything we can do here, so I'm just going to go ahead and go to game 2. I can see a losing battle. I know when to retreat. Alright, so against Spirits, Eldrazi Displacer is very good, actually. Cuttable cards include, in order to keep our curve the same, I'm going to cut some Nisses and a Tireless Tracker. Those cards just aren't great against Spirits, especially since they're somewhat expensive and operate at sorcery speed. The rest of these cards I actually like a lot. There's definitely an argument to bring in something like Clash of Wills, but I don't really want to cut any of these other non-creature spells for the most part. So I think I'm good as is. So yeah, we will submit this list for game number 2. Alright, so we will be on the play for game 2. And this hand is very reasonable. We'll go ahead and keep. Okay, so it looks like we accidentally submitted 62 cards, because I was going to say I don't remember boarding the Clash of Wills, but I suppose I moved them to the main deck and forgot to move them back. So that is kind of funny, but overall won't really affect things too much. Go ahead and search up our missing color of mana. And we have the choice between Advocate and Selfless Spirit, but I'm going to go ahead and play Advocate because it's obviously a better attacker, especially when he has 1/1 flyers of his own. Alright, and Offensa. That seems like a good target for my Reflector Mage. We're trying to make his Mausoleum Wanderer irrelevant this game by playing bigger bodies. So we don't want Anafenza giving it counters and making it into a real threat. Of course, we do have Reflector Mage in case it does get big, but we'd rather not use our Reflector Mage on a 1-mana spell because that kind of defeats the point of out-tempoing them with Reflector Mage. Alright, Bygone Bishop, that's another juicy Reflector Mage target. Seeing as how we don't have 4 mana yet to deploy 2 of these spells, we're just going to keep on bouncing all his things and... oh, shoot, I skipped through my combat stuff. Oh, that's unfortunate. I just was a little trigger happy and hit the button a few too many times. Alright, Alright, so he bounced our Sylvan Advocate, but that's not really that important because we don't have 6 lands anyway. We'll get in for a couple damage. Unfortunately, he should be 4 lower, but we misclicked through attack stuff, but should still be okay. Play Dustwatch and Selfless Spirit here. It is kind of amusing to me how we have 4 different basic lands in play and no other lands. I like that. Admittedly, we've been getting a little sloppy in these later rounds, and it's very well might have cost us. Ooh, Dramoka's Command was good. Alright, so I'm just going to lead off by attacking with everything except for the Duskwatch. Or no, I can attack with everything, because we do have Dramoka's Command, so if he blocks our Duskwatch with Reflector Mage, we can kind of blow him out with Dramoka's Command. Alright, so we're going to put a counter on Dustwatch and have Reflector Mage, Fight, and Offenza, and this should actually be a huge blowout. And even if he does have something, we have Clash of Wills to counter it. So it would have to be a 1-mana trick for him for this to work. Unfortunately, we cannot counter that with Clash of Wills, or else he'll just sack his Mausoleum Wanderer. So we'll go ahead and let that resolve. Oh, and then he can counter his, he can counter the Dramoka's Command. Didn't really take that into account, to be honest. Like I said, we're getting a little sloppy. So I'll just let the Recruiter die, that's fine. Bygone Bishop is fine. Essence Flux. I suppose it's as good of a time ever to counter that. I'll make the obvious block and hope he doesn't have any tricks, as there's nothing real else we can do here, because we're already so far behind on board, we don't want to fall even more behind. Alright, go ahead and fetch. I'm going to get a planes just in case I draw Avison, because that seems like one of the ways we can come back to win. Collecting Company is also a decent way to come back to win. I'm going to pass turn for now. It doesn't seem very likely that this company is going to resolve, but again, we are so far behind right now that we need to try something. Alright, so he gets to counter our Collected Company with his Ojtai's commands. Don't think we really have any way of winning this game at this point. But we're not technically dead. It's just, the issue is we know his cards in hand aren't lands because he's been missing his land drops, so that means he has 4 spells in hand, which does not bode well for us, unfortunately. Selfless Spirit, I'm going to try to counter and draw a card. Yeah, we could like rebuy Selfless Spirit or Dustwatch. Maybe rebuying Dustwatch is fine. But we do need to find an answer to this Bygone Bishop, actually, or else it's just going to straight up kill us. So maybe drawing a card is better. Yeah, we'll do that. We need to find something like Avison very quickly. Collected Company also works, as long as it resolves. But like I said, I'm skeptical that any of our spells are going to resolve at this point with him having 3 more spells in his hand. Still don't have great attacks, so I'm just going to pass the turn. And hope this company resolves. It did resolve, but unfortunately we didn't hit anything relevant. So I'm just going to take this damage, go to 1, and hope that he just has nothing, and may be able to race him, as we do have an Ojtai's command that can buy us the time. Right, that one didn't help. Alright, so I'm going to jam in with some guys, and perhaps we have a chance of racing him, because he is going to go to 4. So basically all we need is for this Oshti's command to resolve, and we're in pretty decent shape. But he hasn't been doing anything with those cards in his hand, so I'm guessing that at least one is a counterspell, in which case we're just dead. But we're just going to hope that this Oshti's command resolves. Alright, so we're going to gain 4 life and return Selfless Spirits. Please resolve! Come on, fingers crossed. It did resolve. So I'm not going to block, and maybe we can kill him on this crackback. Oh, whew, we won that close one. Alright, I didn't think there was any way we could win, but it looks like he just had nothing. I do like the way we sideboarded, though, for this game, so I'm not going to change anything up. And we will submit for game 3. Alright, so this hand isn't exciting or anything, but it does have all our colors of mana and a Collected Company. And I think the Reflector Mages can buy us some time, especially since he shows things like Bygone Bishop that Reflector Mage is very good against. So I am going to keep, and hopefully we draw a 2-drop in our first 2 draw steps. That would be the dream, but if not, that's okay too, because I think hitting our colors and land drops is the most important thing for keeping a hand in Bant Company, and after that it becomes more of a power level thing, and we do have Collected Company, which is high enough power level that it's kind of the same thing as hitting our 2-drop. Because if we go 3-drop into Collected Company, that's essentially the same thing as going 2-drop into 3-drop into, you know, something else, because Collected Company is a 2-for-1, obviously. If that makes sense. I know that explanation sounds kind of weird, but I think it holds logically. Our opponent is deciding whether to mulligan, so maybe he has a really close one, because he's tanked on this for quite a bit of time now. It looks like he has kept, though, so we'll keep that in mind, that he might have a weaker hand. Alright, Dromoka's command is not what we were looking for, but it's also not bad by any stretch of the imagination. Tireless Tracker, also not bad. I'm going to start off by jamming a Reflector Mage. Fortunately, he gave his dude Hexproof. But I will hold up Collected Company here. Hopefully he taps out at the end of our turn so that I'm able to resolve the company. Alright, so here I'm going to play a Reflector Mage, bouncing the spell color and resolving the company. And we still get to hold up Dromoka's command, which is great. And we hit Reflector Mage and Displacer. Those are pretty good hits here. He is just going to be able to reflash in the Rattle Chains of a turn, but that's not bad by any means. And while he's tapped out, I'm going to go ahead and put a counter on Reflector and have it fight his Selfless Spirit. Down to 8. Oh, Planar Outburst. I honestly did not expect that one. But we do have a pretty good recovery, so I don't mind it too much. We just have to hope that he can't race us at this point. I'm not going to attack out of Fear of Avacyn. Especially because next turn we can just, we can search for a waste with his Evolving Wilds, and then we don't really have to Fear Avacyn. Alright, so he's going to attack me, so I'm going to try to ambush him with Avacyn. If it doesn't resolve, it doesn't resolve. Block his Selfless Spirits. Alright, so that was a successful ambush. Go ahead and get a waste, and we get a clue as well. Play the Selfless Spirit pre-combat, because why not? And we'll go ahead and attack him for a bunch of damage. And it's funny, because if he tries to cast a spell, we can actually just blink his Spell Queller to counter his spell and get our Selfless Spirit back, so that's great. So we'll put him down to 7. Eldrazi Displacer is very powerful in this matchup. And we win the match. So yeah, we finished 4-1 in this 5-round standard competitive league. The deck felt really good. I think we played pretty loose near the end, especially in the match we lost, as well as this final one against Spirits. So that definitely contributed to some close games and some losses. But I think the deck's great, and I'm very excited to play it at SCG Richmond this weekend. This is Andrew Tenjum signing off with Team Cardhoarder on cardhoarder.com.